Ka-chow!
One of the most important things that we can talk about is what is in your trunk in case of emergencies. So this is my personal vehicle and this is what I keep in here. We're going to talk about all of these different components and why they're important. So number one is your spare tire components. Now mine are buried underneath all of this stuff, so we are going to talk about that last, but I think that that should be at the top of your list. So next to the top of the list, I think that this is incredibly important. Now this is a little tiny tire compressor. I can't tell you how many weird sticky situations myself or other people have been in where you just needed to fill up a flat so that you could get to a gas station or you could get to a safer place in order to change into your spare tire. Now, like I said, one of my favorites. Next most important thing at the top should be a fire extinguisher. You really never know. There are so many electronics in cars nowadays, and even in older cars, like there's so many possibilities of something catching fire that just having the ability to put out a small fire so that your whole car doesn't burn to the ground is super important. Now, this type of fire extinguisher does need to be reloaded, so you could also potentially pack like a fire blanket that doesn't have to be checked occasionally. This is one of my next most important and favorite tools. Now this is a jumper pack. So I don't carry jumper cables in this car because I have this little guy. Now this means that I will not have to rely on a secondary person in order to jump my vehicle. But what it does mean is that at least once a year, I need to make sure that I check that this thing is charged, because otherwise it won't do its job when I need it. So this is a very high up important tool on the list. I'm going to put all this stuff in the video description for you guys so that you have some good links to things that I would recommend. I love to have a tiny toolkit. Now, this is kind of an extensive toolkit. I'm going to open this up on the ground here so you can see. Now, this has literally everything that I could possibly need on the side of the road. If you need something more than this, you're probably towing your car to a mechanic anyway. But if you have a very basic toolkit, a lot of times what you can do is you can phone a friend or call Girlie Garage, and with some basic stuff, we can get you back on the road. I also like that that comes in a nice case. Everything else is kind of like my personal choices on things that I would keep in my car. Number one, I like to keep like just some basics like a hat, a travel mug, a blanket, some flip-flops, just some basic stuff in case, I don't know, I'm caught in a blizzard in San Diego, or I inadvertently went to the beach and I just didn't have anything that I needed. So I like to keep this. I also like to keep a change of clothes. Especially as a girl, a lot of times I'm in a dress or inappropriate shoes and then I need to change a tire or something happens and I don't want to be in a dress. So it is nice to have like a secondary pair of clothes. Other good stuff that's in here is I like to carry an emergency vest. I have actually used this a couple times. If for any reason you are on the side of the road, you do not want a car going at 80 miles an hour to hit you. So being able to be seen, especially if you're on the side of the road at night, is incredibly important. Now this also doubles, like if for some reason you get stuck, let's say you're, in a place where it's cold and you get stuck where your car is now getting packed in with snow, you can tie something like this to the top of your antenna, and then that way your car will be visible while you're safe on the inside of it. Let's see if there's any other good stuff in here. Ooh, we'll talk about this in just a second, but this is one of my favorite tools and very necessary. You never know when you're going to need duct tape. It literally does put the world back together. Now, this box here carries all the fluids for my specific vehicle. I like to have a little bit of everything. You never know when you might need a little bit of coolant or maybe a little extra oil or even just some water. This car has power steering fluid, so I like to carry a little bit of the fluids for this car. I also always carry WD-40 on me. It's seriously one of the best lifesavers. Funnel, good thing to have if your car doesn't already come with it. This is also an amazing tool, and you can buy a 3-pack of these, so if you have multiple cars. This is a safety triangle, and this is one of those other things that can help you stay visible so that cars do not run into you or run into your car. If you're in a sticky spot, you can put this so much further back to just warn other drivers or let safety people know that you are stuck in a bad place. So I love having one of these. This is a really inexpensive rubber wheel chock. I think this cost me like $6. But if I ever have to jack my car up, like I got a flat tire on any sort of hill, it is so nice to have one of these because you can just take it and stick it behind the rear wheel or the opposite wheel, and now your car is not going to roll backwards on you. So I love having one of those in my toolkit. We're going to take this out so we can actually see my spare tire. And I'll explain what these are in just a second. So this car's spare tire has actually been stolen, and I had to create my own spare tire kit. So I have a full-size spare in here, and what I had to do, because the spare tire kit was stolen, was replace it. So that's what this is. So here's my new jack, and I also have, because you need a lug nut wrench, I instead have this breaker bar and this set of sockets. So that is my new spare tire kit. Now, if yours has been stolen and you want to replace it with a donut, or yours is missing and you can replace it with the donut, yours will sit a little bit more flush in your trunk like that. 10 out of 10 recommend having at least the first couple items on this list. But honestly, it's whatever you need it to be. You need to make yours based on where you live, based on the situations. Now, somewhere in the bottom of this box, I also always carry snacks because I get hungry like very easily. And if I'm in an emergency situation, I want to have maybe something freeze-dried or something I can forget about that can live in there for the next 10 years in case of emergency. So this is my emergency toolkit. If you do not have the space for all of this cool stuff, you can definitely downsize or find what works for you. But 10 out of 10 recommend that you think about what emergencies you might be in, so that if you're there, you're not panicking, you know you've got what you need. Make sure you drop in the comments something special you use in your emergency toolkit. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you send it to a friend so that they can up their emergency toolkit game.